So, here we are guys, in Sardinia, at the Magrini competition. I think my first competition was 7 years ago, and I've been coming ever since, with the exception of the last couple of years, which obviously we were all affected by the horrible virus. Gotta say, it's probably one of the nicest competitions to come to. Of all the ones we do abroad, I say one of the nicest. It's quite difficult actually to separate them. They've all got different things going for them, and they're all full of lovely people. Now this year I've managed to get a hold of somebody who's agreed to do a little interview, so I'll be back with you in a while and you'll find out who it is. And I think I've just spied him outside of his room, so we're going to have a wander up and see if we can get him to answer a few questions. One of the all-time greats in the fishing world, somebody you will all be very familiar with, and I'm sure has got a few tales to tell from over the years of his experiences in fishing. Right, just approaching now, and of course I would imagine as I get closer you will all guess who the guy is. There we go. Good morning, Chris.
Hello, Karen.
There you go, guys. At long last I've managed to get hold of Chris Clarke. Followed him in Sardinia, a competition that I've been doing for probably 7 years. But I do think, Chris, you've been doing how many years now?
Far too many, I think.
You've got to, how many Sardinian competitions have you done in the Magrini?
Not that many, believe it or not. Probably 12, because I couldn't start doing it until I basically finished work.
Ah, okay.
Because when I was work, I just couldn't get the time off.
And what's been your best result at one of these then?
I've had quite a few section wins. I've been there in the big fish match, and I've been in on the podium, and I've been sort of fourth, fifth, but I've never won the Magrini. It's one of the ones which is always slipped the net, as they say.
Massive competition.
Yeah.
It's there's an awful lot of good anglers here, a lot of locals, so you know, to do what you've done is an achievement in itself, really.
You don't fish the Magrini for... You fish it for the friendship more than anything. Absolutely. For the competition. I think it should be renamed the Friendship Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit like the cup they do that's the Friendship Cup, maybe renamed.
Yeah.
So, you've been fishing for many years, Chris. So, who taught you to fish? What's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory was I taught myself to fish.
Oh, really?
Yes, was catching. My first rod was a World War II tank aerial, winkling out little brown trouts in his lordship's neighbouring stream. And when we used to get caught by the bailiff, your ear was singing for several days afterwards. After the wild brownies, that was my first ever fishing.
Fishing, and then it progressed to
sea fishing. But I never started match fishing, strangely, until after I got married.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what that says about marriage.
Obviously, you found a good woman.
Very good. After 51 years, it must have been. Yeah,
that sort of tells the tale.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you. You must have some memories, fishing-related memories. What would be some of your moments that stand out that you'll never forget?
There's too many really to mention. But my real love is coaching the juniors, the kids. That's what I really enjoy. And
well, I guess putting back into the sport.
Probably in relating to the kids, probably related to my best ever fishing experience as well.
Yeah.
In 2001, we'd taken a junior team out to the World Tour Championships at Porto Santo, which is a little island off Madeira. Steve Allmark was my fellow coach. Tom Wells won the individual gold medal for the junior medal, which was fantastic. I got home, after getting home, I'd been home 4 days, and where I work on the farm was on a shutdown, so I was actually getting my hands dirty. And I had a pretty horrendous accident in farm machinery, which put me in hospital for 8 weeks. which is not good. But it leads on to the best thing which ever happened to me, because I finished up with a metal replacement shoulder, and I can't lift this arm.
Yeah.
All 4 crucians are snapped in my right knee, and still are. They told me there'd be a chance I'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life in hospital. Yeah, it's that bad. But I'd been picked, prior to going to Porto Santo, I'd been picked for the England team to fish the World Senior Championships in France at Mizan that year, which wasn't until October. And the NFA, or the National Federation of Sea Anglers at the time, to their wisdom, they left my place open, although the chance of me fishing seemed to be pretty grim because of what they'd told me, that my fishing days would be over. But I came out of hospital after 8 weeks, strapped up like a mummy almost. But I was fishing within a week with one arm, my leg strapped.
Good grief.
And I kept.
That's dedication.
I was back up to the hospital twice a week for physio, and they're giving me home physio, which I doubled everything they gave me, basically.
Oh.
Which made me not good and not good. But come the World Championships, I still went to the World Championships and fished, and I got a bronze individual medal, which, although I've won a gold medal before, the individual, that bronze was more important to me than any other fishing moment in my life. I came back and I fished basically with one arm, my leg strapped, I was still strapped up.
Really?
Yeah.
And you still managed?
Yeah, no, I got a bronze medal. In France, it's not an easy place to fish, not on the West Bay of Biscay coast.
No, not at all, not at all.
And yeah, that is my real highlight in my fishing. As far as I won many championships, like the Sanf Masters I've won twice and things like that, but nothing compares with that
medal.
Although I had a bronze medal in Portugal, a silver, and so here in Sardinia actually I had a silver medal. In 1992 I got a silver individual.
Yeah. And
a gold individual in France, in Ireland, but that bronze sticks out to me.
Yeah, that's the one that will sit there forever, I would imagine.
But apart from that, with fishing, I suppose running with the Olympic torch for the work I do, that was a fantastic experience. Yeah. Especially through my own town, that was and then following that, I suppose getting the British Citizens Award for the work I do with the youngsters, which is the actual award is only given to people who do things voluntary.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's why no pop stars or highly paid people can get it. You can only do it if you do work.
You've got the work in.
If you actually do it voluntary, and that was a great honour to go up to the House of Lords. We had a fantastic time out there to be presented with it.
Lovely. Yeah.
So they're my main highlights. But the competitions you win so many. I've won the Irish Winter Beach Championship several times, and But
that mean the most.
But it's still all the work with the kids I enjoy. We got a talent pathway I'm running again this year in the end of July.
Well, I think it's putting back into the sport what you've taken out, isn't
but
it? Really?
How much longer I should carry on, I don't know. The years are ticking on. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to. You never know what's going to happen around the corner.
So, probably it's a strange one. I normally ask people, but I think asking you might not be quite so easy. Go-to rigs. We all have sort of go-to rigs. Now, because you fish all over the world and at home and everywhere else, a go-to rig isn't going to be just one rig in it. So
no, it's a very interesting question. It's something which I very often talk to the youngsters when we're doing the talent pathway.
Yeah.
The vast majority of anglers overcomplicate things.
Okay.
A fish is a very simple creature. Yeah. He doesn't need complications. The rig needs to be simple and basic. That works.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Keep it light and keep it simple.
Yeah.
That is my advice to anybody. Light and simple.
Okay, Chris. Well, I've got to ask really, and a lot of people would probably like to know the answer to, and that is, any favourite rods and reels? Preferences as to what you use for your different types of fishing that you do?
That's an interesting one. I go on for ages, I think, on this. And it's actually changed since I had my accident in 2001.
Yeah.
With a metal shoulder, it's had to completely change my casting style. Before I had the accident, I was on multipliers with zip-lick rods, fairly stiff rods. I had the strength to bend them. But since the accident, I've had to change my style of my casting, my style of my rods to suit me. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes people make out there. They ask people for recommendations for a rod. I would never recommend a rod for anybody. Personally, I've never done a review for a rod because I think a rod is a very personal thing, almost like a wife. and it's got to suit you, your own personality, your own height, your own strength, and your casting style. So I will always say, go and try a rod before you hand it to a pistol or no. Always do. And similar to reels as well. I used to use multi-rise. Now I don't know, I use 6 balls. I use dial bases mainly because they're a nice drill for general surf casting. The only time I use multi-rise now is just like a rock fishing, when I'm not having to cast very far.
Purely then for the winching power.
Oh, we need the winching power, yeah. But it's a very interesting one. But I'd recommend to anybody, go and try a rod. Don't take recommendations. Go and see what's there. See what suits you.
Absolutely, we're all different.
We most certainly are. Yes. Yeah. So never so on. You very see it. You see it on social media. Oh, this rod is fantastic. It's the best, and so it may be the best for the person using it, but not for anybody else.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've all got different casting styles. We're all made differently, so what would suit one probably wouldn't suit another. It's a personal thing, as you say.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But I would say, personally, for my beach casting on clean ground, I'm using the Yuki Aratas, the 5 metre one. The reason with the 5 metre, the longer one, is I have to cast with my body now because of my shoulder, and that gives me more distance. I use that while I use the Gravel Surf 2, which comes with the multi-tips, which gives me the options. That's what I use on beaches. If I'm on the rocks, I probably switch to the old Fox Ranger rods, which you can't get anymore. The Fox Nemesis rod for me was a fantastic rock rod, but it may not be for somebody else. And also it depends on what you're fishing for. When I'm on the fishing on the rocks, it's normally for wrasse, maybe huss.
You like the wrasse?
I love my wrasse.
Oh yes, I've seen quite a few of your pictures of your wrasse, and some specimens. Some of them are too. You certainly do love your wrasse fishing, Chris.
I really enjoy my wrasse fishing on the rocks. I love it, especially the float fishing on it. But talking about float fishing, I also enjoy trotting stick float down the Hampshire Avon for decent chub in the summer. With just a size 18 hook and a single white maggot, you keep feeding the maggots, then the chub and the dace, they're hungry. Even when the sun's blaring down, they'll come. And I suppose that's taking me back to my childhood when I started on the river after the wild brownie, the freshwater part of it. I belong to the Ringwood Club, so I've got a lot of water to fish on the Avon. Oh yeah. Once the season opens in June, I should be on the river. I don't do so much sea fishing then. For the next 3 months, I should be on the river trotting a float, on freshwater trotting a float. Yeah. And internationally, that's very, very important because you're using light line. So when you come to places like here in Sardinia, where we're using 0.18 hook lengths and so forth, and size 8 hooks, which are not small compared with fresh water, but it's a lot smaller than probably what most anglers do. And with hooks, I also think generally people use hooks which are too big.
That's a good point. I agree with you.
When I'm on the river, I can catch a 5-pound chub on a size 18. I always say the hook should match the bait, not necessarily the target fish. It should match the bait you're using. If you're going to use very huge big baits, you use big hooks. But if you're just using worm baits, you don't need huge hooks. The bait presentation, which is the key. And another thing which I think teaches you so much about fishing, and it's something which a lot of people miss out on, is collecting your own bait. I don't buy any bait. People may say I'm a tight old sod or whatever, which may be true. But I love going out and digging my own whites, my own maddies, my own ragworm. I get my own mackerel and freeze, and it teaches when you're going out and you're digging your own bait. It teaches you so much about the actual worms you're using, the environment and everything else. And that's all important in becoming a good angler, in my opinion.
Which brings me on to my next question, really. Tips. Any tips for up and coming young anglers? Anybody that wants to go into competitions and, you know, maybe progress on to the international scene? Have you got any tips or advice that you could give to them?
Well, the first thing I'd recommend any youngster is to join a club. Although a lot of the clubs, the level of angling may be not very high, but if a youngster is looking to get involved in the international scene, I always say get some coaching by the time you're 10, before you get into bad habits. With a talent pathway, basically there's 12 to 16-year-olds, but I like to take them from 10 before they get into the bad habits. Because they can start fishing at international level when they're 12. So if you have them for 2 years before they get there, you can mould them into the right way of using the trike traces and the simplicity of it, and it's all about work rate as well. Very often on the beach you only get out back what you put in. Those who just sit on the box like I am now when I'm an old man, I'm retired, sit down, you don't catch as much as those which are up on the rod tip, working the rod tip, twitching it, and all the rest of it. All these little things, twitching it is so important. We spend an awful lot of time on teaching youngsters on reading the beach. We give them a scenario, and we very often say we're arriving at a beach you've never seen before, in a foreign country. What features are you going to look for on the beach? What fish holding features are you looking for? Where are you going to cast to start with? Where do you think they're fishing and why? And we get them down. We get them to write down a list. We split them in groups of four, and they do have their own little work group, and they come up with 8 or 9 answers. Then we compare all the answers, and then we discuss it. And it's very interesting, the replies you're getting, and it's teaching them about the knowledge of what to look out for on the beach. The same as the beaches on here. When you get down, you can see where the sandbars are by the colour of the water, or the wave movement. You can see if there's any patches of rock or weed, and it's all. This is so important in international fishing, to learn where to fish. You also need a bit of luck sometimes. We all need a bit of luck.
I think we all need
a bit of luck
sometimes, Chris.
Yeah.
You're right there. So your advice basically would be to get yourself in a club and look for maybe things like your talent pathway.
Get yourself on a talent pathway. It's learning with your dad and so forth may be fine. He may be a good angler, but unless he's fished at international level, he doesn't know actually what. It's so far removed fishing, say in Sardinia, to what it is in the UK. It's so far removed. So you need to get advice, coaching from people which have done that sort of fishing, who've been there and done it.
Some great advice, really. Get yourself a mentor. Talking of which, who were yours? Anybody you looked up to?
The person which I used to love watching his programs, and I actually met him. He actually fished at my brother's lakes a few times. Was a freshwater angler, Jack Hargreaves. I don't know if you remember the old out of town programs on television. He was a real country person, and and also Oliver Kite, who was a trout angler. I really looked up to him. He also a bit of a naturalist. And what some people may not know on the fishing, I love my wildlife. I like taking wildlife pictures, which I do a lot of. And and it's something which I really enjoy. But again, it's all out in the environment, out in the nature, which is fishing. What fishing is all about, being out in the environment.
Right, a question I've got to ask you, Chris. I mean, you fished for England for many, many years. So, how many medals does that cabinet actually hold?
How many fingers have I got? I currently got 23 world medals, which is gold, silver, and bronze as an individual in seniors. Gold, silver, and bronze as a team member for seniors, and gold, silver, and bronze as manager of the England junior, which is my love. It's quite a
Right, over the years, I'm sure you've had some funny moments. Anything that springs to mind? Anything you can remember?
Looking for a restaurant or something, I think we were. And we was there with Pete Owen, Alan Yates, the great Alan Yates, many remember him. And this woman came past with a little chihuahua or whatever you call them on a lead.
Yeah.
And Pete Owen said, "Oh, look, a rat on the lead." And the woman turned around in perfect English. She said, "Yes, but a nice rat." Pete didn't know where to put himself. Yeah. But yeah, I've had lots of hilarious moments with the kids. Too many to really think about with the youngsters. They're really characters. All the youngsters we take across.
They're all individuals, aren't
They are all individuals, and that is something else you've got to do. You've got to treat them as individuals, because every youngster you take away, their needs are different. They are. Some may need mollycoddling, some may need to be left alone to do their own thing. Yeah, I think it's an important part of a coach to assess their requirement.
So you're teaching them how to read the beach.
Yeah.
But all of you that look after them have got to learn how to read them, really.
It's something we taught in coaching, because apart from the normal coaching certificates we got and so forth, myself and David Graham, we attended 4 extra coaching sessions up in Nottingham, where we learnt about how do you assess somebody's coaching, how do you get them to be better, and all this sort of thing. In fact, we found those sessions were far more interesting. Are actually coaching, learning to be a coach. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They are our future.
Yeah. Yeah, they are few which it's great to see so many of the youngsters which have had come up through the youngsters and now fishing at the senior level.
Yeah. I imagine you've seen a few.
Like Saul Page, which everybody knows Saul Page.
Yeah.
The first time I took Saul, I took Saul to a World Championship in Holland, where he actually was World Junior Championship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in 93, 94, something like that. He became World Junior Champion. Caused me an awful lot of trouble, he did.
A lot of grief.
Yeah, a lot of grief, getting out of mischief as they do. But now, of course, he's been in the England senior team and winning medals there.
That's right. Yeah.
And Richard Yates is another one.
Yeah.
Which I took his way as a junior, and he's come through and he's in the senior team and really respected. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction to see the youngsters coming through. Yeah.
Another question I've got to ask. You've had a very long and successful fishing career. Is there anything left? Anything that you would still like to achieve, or any goals?
I think there's always lots of things one would like to achieve, but one has to be realistic as you get older. Now, in my mid-70s, I know my capabilities, and perhaps there's 1 or 2 things which I would have liked to have done, which I know I never will be physically capable of doing anymore. It's simple as that with fishing.
Listening to you talk about the juniors, I'm guessing Ireland with the juniors would be one for you.
That would be the biggie in Ireland. Yeah, in Ireland. I do like beaches in Ireland. I like the Irish people as well. Yeah. They do well there. Yeah. It would be certainly a thrill. But Holland next year is a challenge now with the kids, as long as they don't have it in the silly time of year when we can't take them. Well, hopefully, because I know the Angling Trust sent quite a stiff email to Bca about the decision to hold it in France that time of year. That's right. Yeah, occasionally the World Junior Championship is held in the Easter holidays. We held it twice in Bridlington, when I was walking. But the Easter holidays is the same throughout the whole of Europe. It's the same 2 weeks. So that's why we had it then. But once you take it out of that, it makes it difficult. But I'm being a bit cynical now. One of the reasons they like to have it outside of these holidays, the price they're paying for accommodation is probably half.
Yes.
Yeah. This is it comes down to pound. Unfortunately, it comes down to pound notes. Unfortunately, they can get a far better deal when it's out of season.
Yeah. But that
And while I was in FIPSM, I saw it that there's some federations which are excellent. They'll do everything they can to get the best championship. The money's not important. They're not there to make money. Where others were completely opposite. They do everything they can to get accommodation as cheap as possible, so they can make as much money as they can. Which is a shame. It's the wrong way around as far as I'm concerned. But the majority of countries are very good. They do it at the best time of year for the fishing, which is what it should be about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Chris, I think I've probably come to the end. Massive thank you for sitting there and putting up with me and answering these questions. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would be really interested in some of your answers.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. In actual fact, it's just as well we're coming to an end.
Yeah.
I've got a plane to catch.
You have indeed.
I have indeed, and I have to leave.
I thought I wouldn't keep you any longer, but I needed to get you here in this, in this competition here. We know elements.
Yeah, it's a fantastic competition. Yeah, it is.
A lot of the friendship cups as well, but this one in particular is lovely. So a big thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
It's been great talking to you, and now go get your flight.
Yeah, I will do indeed.
So there you have it, guys. My interview that I snatched in Sardinia with Chris Clarke. Another big thanks to Chris for letting me do the interview. Big thanks to you guys, and apologies for some of the poor sound. I really didn't want to cut any of it out because it was so interesting. One of the great inspirations of our sport. So with that, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.